Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to Finish Awesome Friday. Today we go through the second layer of the 3 layers of awesome, which is structure. And obviously we're at the moment talking about nutrition. So it goes well with me saying that this is the meat and potatoes of the 3 layers of awesome. Okay. Basically today we're just going to run through what it then takes now. We've done the sort of the base level. Okay, we've done the foundation. Okay, we're making sure we're consistently getting in things like fruits and vegetables. We're consistently making sure we're eating less processed products. We're getting more protein in our diets. Okay, we're drinking more water. Okay, those basic elements are what are required in any diet and required in any sort of, you know, whether it's a fad or whether it's, you know, whatever your belief structure is. But that is what all diets will circle around, those 4 elements. You know, if you get those right, then generally everything else will fall into place. Okay. Now at the end of the sort of the basics, the base level, I asked you to start tracking calories. Okay, to move on to this next level, and you can see now why. And this next level, we're going to sort of go in a bit more detail now about you know, what it will take to go to that next level. Okay, so I've always said that it's the good, the great, and the awesome. Okay, they're the 3 layers that we work with. Okay, this will give you probably the best results that you can hope for, and then obviously everything else is then just, you know, it will be sort of icing on the cake. Again, I'll talk a little bit more detail and get a bit more geeky about how you can manipulate things and how you can change things. Okay, but with the structure side of things, it's basically starting to take control of what you're doing and actually sort of you know, almost a scientific experiment with yourself. You know, you're then taking accountability on, you're utilizing your body, you're using measurable sort of tools to make sure that you're getting that consistency in what you want, and you are taking control. So the first stage, very much, you know, I was just talking about cleaning up the diet and getting the basics right. Now it's your chance to start taking hold of your diet, your nutritional plan, and starting to realize how you manipulate your own body weight. It's nothing to do with you know, it's no outside sources, no outside sort of influences. That's the word I'm trying to think of. It's all about you. It's all about how you react, how you go. And as we go on to this and we go on to the next layer, and then we go into things like mindset, you'll actually start understanding a lot more that, you know, the outside influences are there, but it's all about how you react to those outside influences. All right. Okay, so just quickly starting then, the very first thing that we will start doing now is basically start working out our total daily energy expenditure, okay, or our basic metabolic rate. Okay, I'll explain the difference between what those two are, but basically that's what we're looking to do. Now, I've given you a couple of different things you can do to work this out, and then you can start experimenting, depending how much you want to experiment, how much you want to change things. But the Harris-Benedict protocol or method is something I like to use. If you type in Harris-Benedict calculator into Google, it will come up with you know, tons of pages of it, you know, loads of different websites with the calculator on. Basically what it will do is it will ask for your age, it will ask for your height, it will ask for your weight, and then it will ask for your activity level. Now, some will be more descriptive than others, so it might help you out deciding what activity level you are. But generally speaking, I normally sort of look at the sort of 3 to 5 times a week training at a moderate intensity. That sort of is where I feel I lay, so I'll put that in, and that'll give me my rough guesstimation of where I am. Now, as with any of these, it's not going to be the be all and end all, okay? So whether you go with the Harris-Benedict method, okay, just because that's the number it gives you doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Same as anything else. You can just literally take your body weight in pounds and then times it by 10 or times it by 12 or times it by whatever. Okay, there's other methods out there. That's a simpler way of doing it. You know, if you times it by 10 to 12, that will roughly give you a good base level of calories to work from. And again, you can play around with the numbers from there. Or you can just go by the standards. Okay, the male standard is 2,500 calories a day. The female standard is 2,000 calories a day. So you could literally just start with the, you know, the government base level for yourself. Okay, the reason that probably will be a little more skew-if than anything else, I think sometimes 2,500 for a very active male, it would be far too little. And you know, for the other extreme, if you're talking about an unactive female, 2,000 calories might be quite a lot to take on. So though it's a good guideline, once again, you know, you're going to have to play with it pretty quickly and go from there. Okay, so your total daily energy expenditure, okay, is going to be the number that you will basically have to work with every day. Okay, your basic metabolic rate, which it talks about quite a lot in the calendars, is what your basic metabolic rate is. So if your basic metabolic rate, so for example mine, I think can be around about 2,400, I think, for my age, my height, my weight, everything else like that. But my total daily energy expenditure with my training on top brings it up to about 3,000. So you can see that's you know, a 600 calorie difference in terms of those two numbers. So you can basically see what the benefit is of using, say, a Harris Benedict calculator. It will give you those numbers, and you can work out from there. You know, you can start from that, and it's a bit more precise than just guessing or times in your body weight or anything else like that. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is work out those calories that you're going to consume, and that is an important thing to do. Now, let's just, for example, say that it is, you know, I type it in there, and as I say, it gives me the basic metabolic rate, works out my training. It gives me 3,000 calories a day to consume. Okay, that's my number now I'm going to work with. Okay, so with that, I now have a number. Okay, this isn't going to be the final number, and obviously depending on my goals, this can change as well. Okay, if I want to obviously lose weight, this may have to come down for that to start happening. If I want to gain weight, then this obviously is going to maybe go up. Okay, so depending on what that is, but that gives you a good base number to work from, and once you have that number, you can obviously then manipulate it how you choose. Okay, so it gives me my number from there. I then need to make sure that I have a consistent measuring tool to make sure that my accountability is there. Okay, we've discussed this in past videos. Okay, the brilliant tool that I love to use is the Humble weighing machine. Okay, the Humble weighing scales. Okay, so simple to use. It gives me feedback straight away if I'm getting my goal or not. Okay, if I start eating 3,000 calories a day, for example, and I weigh myself on Monday and I weigh 92 kilos or you know, a couple of hundred pounds, and then I come back and weigh myself on Wednesday and I've gone up half a kilo or 2-3 pounds or whatever, you know, scale number you use, you know, I know that actually what I'm doing probably isn't right. 3,000 calories might be a bit much. I can then check again on Friday. If over that week I've added 2-3 pounds onto my body weight, I can start thinking, okay, maybe 3,000 is a bit much. I need to start coming back on my calories. I need to start cutting down. I need to start making some changes. So that is it. So that is why you use that weighing scale. It gives you a nice, simple way to do it. But you can obviously use things like calipers. If you've got a PT or an instructor that is capable of using them, has over 10,000 hours of experience on it, which is quite rare to find, okay, then you could get pretty consistent fat caliper readings from there. But I wouldn't, you know, it's quite intrusive. It's quite, you know, painful getting pinched by some pincers. So, you know, you can use it if you want. It's just not a tool that I would recommend or use because it's something that I can't use myself or on myself, so it doesn't make much sense. Measurements as well, again, good big, good key, how your clothes fit and stuff like that. But again, it's very susceptible. If I did it on myself, I might misguide where I've measured before. I might not be getting into the exact same areas, you know, so the way, you know, the measurements can be slightly off. So though measurements and calipers are, you know, fairly good tools to use, if you've got a proficient person to use them or a consistent marker to use them, they're great. But if not, then, you know, they're all over the place, which is why I love the weighing scales. It's consistent and easy. No, you know, messing. If I lose weight, you know, I can assume that if my training and nutrition is in line, then that weight is going to be mostly fat. Okay. If I want to gain weight, if my nutrition and everything else is in line, and I'm not suddenly becoming bloated and fat myself, then I can assume that the muscle I'm putting on, or the weight I'm putting on, sorry, is muscle. Okay. So it's a bit of assumptions there, but that's what you need. So, for example, you've got your weight now, 3,000 things. You've got your tool to use, your weighing scales. Okay, so now you can assess how your weeks are going and make changes from there. Okay, so once you have your TDE and track calories daily, then that's what we're going to do. So every single day now, I will track my calories. Okay, because I want to make sure I'm trying to hit that number. And then 2 to 3 times a week, I'm going to weigh myself to make sure that what I'm doing is working and getting the goal that I want to get. Okay, simple, simple, simple. Okay, so nothing more complicated about going up the levels. It just now takes that level of dedication and consistency that you didn't have to have in that first layer. Okay, so that's what we're now trying to build in. We're trying to build in consistency. We're trying to build in that level of discipline where you have to start saying, right, my calorie level is this. I now need to make sure I'm hitting that. Best way and the easiest way to do it is to get a tracking system. Either, you know, MyFitnessPal, as I say, is probably the most popular one to use, but there's millions of calorie trackers on sort of the phones now, loads of different apps. If you want to go old school and just write it down in a book, you can do that. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but you know, you need to make sure that daily now you're, or at least 80% of the time, you know, at least through the week, you know, you're tracking your calories and going over things. But I would say every single day is important if you want to go from that good to great. That's where the discipline is now going to start coming in. Okay, so I've got my weight, got my consistent measuring tool, doing my calories every day. Love tapping the board. I love doing that. Next up, protein. Okay, I mentioned it in the last round. Okay, protein is the most important macronutrient we can be getting in consistently, and obviously it's something that the majority of people aren't getting enough of. Okay, it's not your fault. Okay, it's just the way that the structure is in the world, the way that the diet is. If you go to any sort of hospital or schools and stuff like that, they have the nutritional dish, you know, sort of 40% of it is like breads and stuff, and the proteins come from about 15-20% of dairy products, and then there's a little bit of protein in there, about 15% I think from the total thing off the top of my head. I mean, I might be wrong, they might have changed it by now, hopefully they have. But actually the protein is the most important thing you want to be getting into your diet. About 30 to 40% of your dietary nutrition should come from a protein source. How you work that out is now by working out, you know, using this little system here, it will give you a number to sort of work from, okay? So, here we go. So, I recommend that you get, now this isn't just me, I'm not coming up with this off the top of my head or from any experiments that I've done personally. This range is actually recommended by a person that I look up to in the fitness industry, in the nutrition industry, Dr. Mike Rizzetel from Renaissance Periodization. Okay, and you know, if you go again through any textbooks, a lot of dietary things, a lot of things, you know, this is the range that majority of them will start talking to you about. Okay, so this is why I use this range myself, and it doesn't seem to have any ill effects on me or any of my athletes. Okay, so what you want to ensure you're getting is between 0.8 and 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight every single day. Okay, so for a 200-pound male, okay, hopefully I can do my maths right on this, okay, for a 200-pound male, okay, that means that we need to get between 160 to 1.2, this is going to be embarrassing now, so we'll say an extra 40 on top of that, so 240 grams. There we go, my maths is there, it's there. There we go. So my range, if I was a 200-pound man, I would basically put into the calculator and I would put my body weight times 0.8. Okay, that will give me one number, and then I'll do my body weight times 1.2. That will give me a second number. And all I have to ensure is that every day I hit that range. Okay, now you can make it nice and simple. The simplest way to do it is just say I'll have a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if I was a 200-pound man, that is 200 grams of protein a day. That is the simplest way to do it. But if you want to work a range, that gives you a bit of freedom, because some days you might find you won't get as much protein in as others. Some days you might eat more protein than others. So if you have a range to work with, at least in your mind, you feel a bit more comfortable about hitting that, okay? But the simplest way is just to obviously go down the middle of the line and say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight would be the easiest way to start with this, because then you know that number and you can aim for that number. And that is it. That is the one macronutrient that we should be tracking straight away, because the more protein you get, the better your metabolism will be, the less hungry you're going to be all the time, okay? And obviously when we're training with high intensity exercises, whether it's with weights or without weights, you obviously want to repair that muscle, you want to build muscle maybe, you want to retain muscle if you're trying to lose weight. Protein is there, it's going to be the fuel source that's going to keep that muscle growing and getting stronger and repairing and moving forward. So that is why we ensure that we get enough protein into our diet, okay? Whether you are a weightlifter or whether you run or whatever, protein is massively important to your energy systems and your muscles and your recovery ability. You need to ensure you're getting it. I don't need to go into the science of it, that can be something we can talk about in future videos, but it's just massively important. You can read up about it online, literally just type in protein and you know, scientific studies on protein, and it'll give you a ton of things that I can't even comprehend to speak to you about how effective it is, but it just is needed to be done. So that is what you need to do. You get the range, or you just say, I'm going to do, you know, 1 gram per pound of body weight, job done, and that's it. So that is the range you're going to be working with. You've got a number now. So that is something you're going to track, and that is something you're going to try and aim for each day. Now, the easiest way to do it, again, you don't have to. Supplementation is something that can come further down the line, but an easy way to get a good, you know, 50 to 100 grams extra protein in your diet a day would be to buy a protein shake, okay? Protein shakes aren't steroids. They're not dangerous. They're not going to make you bulk up and get really big and manly if you're a female. They are simply a dietary supplement that allows you to get more protein into your diet, okay? Good to take pre and post workout because they obviously get those nutrients into the body quickly, gets the protein into the body quickly, okay? But you don't have to, but if you ensure that you get 1, 2, 3 extra shakes of protein a day, it can literally make the difference in terms of hitting these targets or not, because it's quite difficult and expensive to get all your dietary protein from food alone, okay? Though it would be the best source, obviously, you know, it hits the wallet quite hard. You know, if you consider that 300 grams of chicken costs, you know, almost £3, you know, you're talking about, if I had to, you know, the average chicken breast has about 25 grams of protein in it. You know, I'd need to eat a lot of chicken breasts, a lot of, you know, sort of £12 a day probably to get the amount of protein I want to get from food alone, okay? So, and obviously it gets boring as well. You have to eat loads of chicken breasts and loads of mince or whatever, okay? So, get a supplement, get a protein supplement. My protein is nice and simple. Get something like Impact Whey Isolate. As long as it's okay on your stomach and your dietary system. They also have different vegan and other options from there. Obviously Genetics that we do here as well is another good supplementation company to look at. They do tons of different variations as well, and tons of sort of cutting edge supplements as well from there. Look them up, but it doesn't really matter as long as it's a lean and a protein source and it's quality. Okay, those two things are fairly important. You don't want ones that are full of sugars and high calories and all the rest of it. You don't need bulking powders. You just need a Whey Isolate sort of lean protein source to work from. Okay. And again, not dietary ones either. The one thing I found actually quite interesting is the diet wheys and stuff like that actually have more carbohydrates in than just the Whey Isolate. So all you need is the isolate, all you need is that protein. So just get one of those. You know, if you like the taste of it, it helps. That's why buying better quality proteins is better, because the taste and the mixability is normally going to be better with those ones. But if you don't like the taste, then you know you may have to find another source. But there's things like protein cookies, protein bars, protein cupcakes. You know, there's a million different protein products now to help you get that extra protein in however you need to, obviously. But for pound, protein powder is going to be that much better because of its value. It works out like 50p. I think a shake or something like that. It's ridiculously cheap, maybe even less than that actually, but it gives you an idea compared to, say, you know, to get 20 grams of protein from chicken compared to protein powder. There's no competition. You know, whey protein is way up there. Rabbiting on about protein quite a lot there, but but how important it is, you know. So that's what you want to try and do. You want to get that dietary protein. So you've got a number now you're trying to work to. You've got your total calories you're trying to work to, okay? The last bit, okay, which is then the last two macronutrients we need to talk about, which is your fats and your carbohydrates. Now, these are important to manipulate and to change, but at this stage, I would recommend just playing around with it and not getting so hung up on it, okay? As long as you're hitting your protein goals and you're hitting your calorie goals, okay, the rest of your macronutrients is going to be about, you know, as I say, if this works out around about 40% of your daily calories, 30-40% of your daily calories, then you're going to need to get about 30 to 40% of the rest of your calories from fats and carbohydrates. I don't know your body type. I don't know how well you cope with carbohydrates. I can assume if you're overweight that you are quite insulin resistant, and basically you're building up a you've built up such a resistance against insulin that your body doesn't really utilize it as well as it does, and it's in a constant state of high sugar, high insulin bouts and going crashing up and down. Again, it's all science. It's something that you don't have to worry too much about, but I can assume if you're overweight that probably the good thing to do would get more good dietary fats in, things like butters, nut butters, oils, olive oil, stuff like that. You know, just get some good fats into the diet to help that side and cut down on the carbohydrates. Whatever that number may be, that's where it will fall. There's no, again, exact science to it. It will be a case of playing around with it and seeing what works best for you. But if you're hitting your protein numbers and you're getting your calorie intake in, then the rest of it you can sort of manipulate about. This again is going more into that next stage, that sort of last stage, the peak. We can start talking more about these macronutrients and start showing you how you manipulate those and how you manipulate your calories and get a bit more, as I say, technical and a bit more geeky into it. But if you're doing these things again, okay, weighing yourself, okay, getting your total daily calories, weighing yourself daily, making sure you're getting the calories hit, get your protein hit, and then making up the rest of those calories through fats and carbohydrates, then that is when your body's going to go to that next level, okay? Your levels of performance and your levels of look, your aesthetic look is where you're going to start marking it off of, but also being very accountable and having an actual number to hit and weighing a number on the scales to hit, then that gives you something to work by, okay? This will be your next stage. As I say, what I will start looking at for the final stage, okay, what we're going to discuss in part number 3 for the peak. We're going to start talking about the last 2 macronutrients, okay, your carbohydrates and your fats, how we can start manipulating those to actually get the best results. And I'll give you a few different styles of dieting that obviously you can start looking into and start seeing how that will fit into your psychological profile. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what my opinion is of the best diets or the best way of eating, because it only matters to me. What I'm trying to do for you is help you decide what is your best nutritional approach, okay? It may be a diet that's already out there, it may be something random that you can make up yourself, but as long as you're getting the basics right, as long as you're then moving on to the next stage and getting that structure right, the peak can very much be your own choosing, and it should be really your own choosing and something you can play with to get your best results. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you again next Friday for the final edition of the nutritional 3 layers of awesome, and I'll see you Monday for Movement Monday. Any questions, throw them at me on my emails, throw them at me at my Facebook, throw them at me on Instagram, anything you want. If you've got anything you want me to start talking about in these videos, again, just throw out some ideas. I'm happy, I'm open to talk about anything you guys want to, okay? Have a great weekend, have an awesome week next week. I'll see you guys soon. Just be awesome.